Hey friends, it's Penny here. If you're noticing that your child's school year is starting to come undone, it's unraveling. The morning battles are coming back, the homework tears are showing up again. The spark that your kid had in August feels like it's dimming. I want you to know that you are so not alone. This unraveling of what I always called the honeymoon period started for us every single year in October. It just started to fall apart like clockwork every single October. When my kid was younger, I could practically set my watch to this, y'all. We'd start the new school year with all this hope built up, new supplies, a fresh start, a new teacher who maybe seemed to finally really get this kid. And for the first several weeks, things would go pretty good. Actually, they would go better than okay most of the time, sometimes even great. And there went that hope welling up, building up again, right? And then out of nowhere, the wheels would just come off. Mornings got harder, resistance to school started to grow. It crept back in, sometimes slowly, sometimes it was just boom, here it is. We go from great to so not great. Homework was a battlefield. The confidence and optimism that my kid had when the school year started really slowly faded back into frustration, back into tears, back into exhaustion for both of us. I used to think we had to be doing something wrong. We hadn't prepared enough for a new school year. We'd lost progress over the summer. But I now know that this October unraveling period, when the honeymoon ended, isn't failure, it's biology. It's just the natural rhythm of how neurodivergent brains and bodies respond to sustained demands and environments that don't work for them over time. So I want to unpack that with you today. Why is there a honeymoon period? Why does it fade? And what can you do when things start falling apart? And what can you do at that moment without losing hope, without losing connection with your kid, without feeling like you can do this and things could get better? I first want to talk about why that honeymoon period happens and why it ends. When the school year first begins, everything is new. We have new teachers, new classrooms, new routines, new faces, new expectations, sometimes even a new school. But what we often miss is that for the ADHD brain, new actually feels good. That novelty is stimulating. It wakes up the brain's dopamine system, which for neurodivergent kids often runs a little low on everyday tasks, right? So in those first few weeks, that fresh energy, that novelty, that change can feel really motivating because it is lighting up that ADHD brain, that newness. It's exciting. And you'll see it and think, oh my gosh, maybe this is the year that everything's clicking, right? You're so hopeful. The optimism is growing. But the thing about that novelty is it doesn't last, guys. Once the newness wears off, which it always will, once those routines become predictable and the daily grind sets in, and the messages of you're not trying hard enough and you're not doing this right or keep flowing, that ADHD brain loses that extra spark of stimulation. Suddenly, what was exciting now becomes boring or hard. The motivation that came so naturally to their body and their brain before with that newness now requires some real effort to maintain, more effort to maintain. And that's when the old struggles start to creep back in, that forgetfulness, the resistance, the meltdowns, the dysregulation. And when that happens, both kids and parents often feel defeated. I know I did. Every single October, I knew that defeat week was coming, but I'd be really hopeful that maybe this was the year that it wasn't going to happen. And yet it did. And the hope that this year will be different started to fade like clockwork. The confidence built in those early weeks would give way to self-doubt. Why can't I just do this? What's wrong with me? What am I not providing for my kid that would make him or her or they successful? So now not only are they working harder to manage those demands of school, that system and environment that isn't built for them, now they're carrying emotional weight too. Disappointment, shame, frustration. That's a lot for any nervous system to hold. So let's talk about the nervous system and the role of the nervous system in this newness and this crash. I want to zoom out and really look at it through that nervous system lens. When school starts, our kids' nervous systems go into overdrive. They're navigating an avalanche of change. They have new expectations, new sensory input, new people to read, new schedules to follow, new social dynamics to manage. Even if they seem to be doing fine on the outside, remember that inside, their system is working overtime just to keep up. And they could be okay on the outside, but falling apart on the inside. It's not bad, it's adaptive, but it's not sustainable. So what happens by October is that the body starts running low on capacity. Our nervous system has been working in overdrive and it has depleted capacity. It's not that it's necessarily screaming for rest, it's screaming for safety. Remember, felt safety is the key to everything. The nervous system has been scanning for danger for weeks, trying to stay in that I can handle this state. But eventually, if there's too much dysregulation for too long, the brain starts to code the school environment as unsafe. Our brains, our kids' brains, are wiring that this environment is unsafe. And here's where we see the real shift. They stop being biologically available to learn. Because biologically, when the brain perceives danger, even emotional danger, social danger, it moves out of the thinking brain and into the survival brain. Survival brain floods and blocks access to the thinking brain. That means executive function, planning, organizing, task initiation, emotional regulation goes offline. So if your kid is suddenly shutting down, melting down, avoiding school, lashing out, this is a signal from their nervous system saying, I don't feel safe here anymore. And safety doesn't always mean stillness, y'all. Sometimes the body finds safety in rest, less stimulation, more recovery. Other times, though, safety comes from movement, running, climbing, pacing, bouncing, being outdoors in nature. That's why some kids retreat and other kids seem to ramp up and get activated. Both are nervous system strategies to find equilibrium again. Both of those are those internal animal instincts that we all have welling up and taking action to protect us. So this October crash isn't a sign that your kid doesn't care. It may feel like it. I promise you, it may feel like it, but it's not a sign that they don't care. It's a sign that they've been working really hard to stay regulated in this environment that's constantly testing their limits. And their body is telling them, I can't keep doing it this way. There's another layer too, and it's one that really so often goes unnoticed. As the school year progresses, the demands for responsibility, I'm using air quotes, and accountability, again with the air quotes, get bigger. Teachers start to expect more independence, and they expect kids to be able to keep following through, keep on that same level with less guidance. In September, everything is explained carefully, routines are taught, instructions are modeled, reminders are frequent because it's new. But by October into late October, the assumption is you should know this by now. This should be routine for you now. You don't need my extra help anymore. But our neurodivergent kids often need that continued level of support, not because they're not capable, but because executive function doesn't develop through exposure alone. They need scaffolding that stays consistent, not support that fades away the moment that the novelty does. They need consistent support. So when explanations and reminders start to drop off, kids who were holding it together through effort and adrenaline and dopamine suddenly feel lost. And that sense of I can't keep up starts to fuel even more dysregulation and stress. And now we have all of these forces commingling and colliding at once. Novelty is fading, confidence is dropping, nervous system is overwhelmed and dysregulated, expectations are rising. Do you feel the tension welling up in you as you listen to that? Because I feel it as I'm saying it. My whole body tenses up just thinking about all of those things piling on and colliding. It's no wonder that this time period around October feels like everything is just unraveling. But the truth is, this is actually the moment to lean in with compassion and not control. We need to look beneath the behavior and ask, what is this telling me about what this kid needs right now? What is this behavior telling me about what this kid needs right now? So let's talk about what to do when things start to fall apart. When everything feels like it's unraveling, our natural instinct as the caring adult is to tighten the reins. More structure, more consequences, more demands for compliance. But control doesn't build capacity, people. Connection does. Regulation does. Instead of asking, how do I make them do this? I want you to ask, what's getting in the way? We're going to stop asking, how do I make them do this? Or how do I make them stop doing this? And we're going to start asking, what is getting in the way of meeting expectations? Is the barrier emotional safety? Is it fatigue? Is it overwhelm? Is it executive dysfunction, executive function overload? You can't address what you can't see. So you have to start with curiosity instead of correction. Correction is way down the road, folks. When I learned to pause and look beneath the behavior, to really see the signal instead of just the surface, everything shifted. I cannot say this enough to you in all of these podcast episodes. Everything shifted when I started seeing behavior as a signal. It didn't make the hard moments disappear. It gave me a roadmap. I could see when my kid was in fight, when he was in flight, when he was frozen. And from there, I could meet him where he was. I could interpret what those states meant that he needed. And then I was there where he was, not where I wished that he could be. By October, we often see what I call executive function collapse. It's when all the invisible mental skills that help kids manage life, that organization, planning, flexibility, task initiation, emotional regulation, they all start to crumble under the weight of ongoing stress. Because remember, when our bodies are stressed, our nervous system is dysregulated. When our nervous system is dysregulated, the access to the thinking brain fades. We need the thinking brain for any and all executive function. So let's talk about a few of those areas and how to support them. With task initiation, getting started is often the hardest part. I want you to try some co-regulation through body doubling. Sit next to your kid while they're getting started, or set a 5-minute timer where you start together. Sometimes just sharing energy helps the brain to bridge the gap between thinking and doing. To support organization, keep systems simple and visual. I cannot emphasize visual enough. When my kid was in middle school, we color coded everything, which helped some. We also simplified. One binder had everything for every class in it. That's what worked for him. It wasn't perfect, but it gave his brain one less decision to make, one less thing to try to figure out. And that really mattered. It really made a difference. When we look at planning, break assignments or routines into tiny, visible steps. Again, tiny steps, and make it visible. Write one sentence is much more doable than go finish your essay. Put on your shoes is clearer than go get ready for school. The brain loves clarity. It is necessary to add an additional layer of clarity for our neurodivergent kids. Flexibility. Our kids thrive when change feels predictable. So give them gentle warning when plans shift. You can say something like, we're going to do something different today, and then explain what will stay the same and what will be different. That consistency is going to build trust. Trust builds safety. Safety builds regulation. Remember that executive function is not a willpower issue, folks. It's not willpower. It's not motivation. It's not character. It's a skill set that develops over time through support and modeling, and it is only available when regulated. Before you try to teach or fix, I want you to start by regulating, because when the nervous system is dysregulated, learning and problem solving simply aren't available. Hear me when I say that. It's not available. The thinking brain is not available. So here is how to prioritize safety first. Start with sensory breaks, short, regular breaks for movement, quiet, or deep pressure. You need to understand your kid's sensory profile and what kind of sensory input is settling to their nervous system, and then provide that type of input. A few minutes of swinging, stretching, or wrapping up in a weighted blanket can bring the body back toward balance and feeling settled. After school decompression is something that I really worked hard to weave in for my own kid because it made a huge difference. I want you to go into that after school time expecting a period of decomposition rather than, okay, we're going to tackle homework and get everything done and move on. Your kid has been holding it together all day. You need to build in time to release before you ask them to re-engage in tasks that require the thinking brain and regulation. They need time to rest and reset. They need time to return to regulation. Predictable rituals can really help as well. The same snack, the same seat, the same song on the drive home. These patterns of ritual help signal safety to the brain. The more predictable you can be, the more safe your kid's brain is going to feel, and yours too. You can do some emotional check-ins. Instead of asking, how was your day? Which for me was always met with fine, or I don't want to talk about it, or complete silence. You can ask something like, did today feel light or heavy? That gives you the opportunity to do that check-in to show that you care, but it's not so much pressure to rehash everything that they've been through. And it gives them permission to feel without pressure to explain it to you and to talk about it. Remember, what calms one kid may energize another. Safety is not one size fits all. For some, safety feels like quiet. For others, it feels like movement and laughter and sound. For my kids, safety felt like heavy metal music. So you need to follow your kids' cues. Don't make your own assumptions about what is going to help them return to felt safety. You cannot teach a dysregulated brain new tricks. You cannot. You have to help it feel safe first. If your child is melting down every afternoon after school or every morning is a battle, it's a signal. It's not signaling failure. It's not signaling that they don't care. It's a signal of mismatch. The demands have exceeded their capacity, either their emotional capacity, their regulation capacity, their skills capacity. They might have unmet needs that are reducing capacity, right? There's a lot of things that can reduce capacity, and we have to notice and think about all of those when we're trying to figure out why things aren't working the way that we want them to. Ask yourself, where can I lighten the load? Even temporarily. Remember, when we pull back, when we reduce demands, when we stretch the timeline, we're saying this isn't happening right now, not yet. We're not saying that we don't care about this forever. We can ask questions like, can assignments be shortened? Can our kids have more transition time between tasks? Can we drop an extracurricular or something that we're doing after school this month? Can the teacher reduce written output or let them show knowledge verbally? Sometimes the most powerful support that we can offer is when we say, you don't have to push through this alone. I am here to help you. I've got you. It's okay to scale back. It's okay to protect capacity. Your kid's mental health and emotional health matters more than their schoolwork and their grades. So this period that we're in, this honeymoon unraveling, is a season for grace, not grinding. because growth doesn't come from forcing more. It comes from creating space to recover, to regulate, to rebuild. Here's what I want you to really take away from this and hold on to. This October unravel, the falling apart, the slipping back into old patterns, it does not mean that you've lost progress. I know it feels like it, but it's not what it means. It's actually part of the process. Regulation and growth aren't linear, they're cyclical. Your child's nervous system expands, stretches, takes in new experiences, their brain makes new neural connections, and then it contracts again to recover and integrate what it's learned. That's how development and growth works. It's like building a muscle. The strength doesn't come from the moment of effort, it comes from the continued practice and repair afterward. So instead of seeing this as backsliding, try to see it as feedback. Try to read the signals. The system is saying, I've reached my edge. I need support before I can keep growing. Sometimes I need support before I can even keep going. And the beautiful thing about understanding this cycle is that you stop panicking when things fall apart. Not always, but it improves. You can stop blaming yourself so much. You can start responding with steadiness, not fear. You can say, okay, this is our recalibration season. We've been here before. We know what to do. We at least know where to start. You focus on safety, connection, capacity, and you wait for the system to come back online. And by focusing on that safety, connection, and capacity, you are helping the system to come back online, because it always does. We always ebb and flow through regulation and dysregulation. So if things feel hard right now, your mornings are rough, meltdowns are happening daily, the progress you celebrated just a few weeks ago feels like it has totally vanished, please remember that this is not the end of the story. You are not stuck here. It's just the middle, the messy, human, real life middle. Your kid isn't broken. Their behavior isn't the problem. It is the signal. I'm going to say that again and again forevermore. Behavior isn't the problem. It is the signal. When you learn to follow it, you're going to create safety. And when safety comes, regulation will follow. And when regulation grows, learning and confidence bloom again. So take a breath. Help your kid take a breath. Lower the bar for a bit. Reduce demands for a bit. Meet your child where they are, not where you hoped they'd be, not where they were 2 weeks ago, where they are today, right now, in this moment, because that's where connection begins. And connection is the fertile soil where all lasting change grows. Remember, just because the honeymoon is over for the school year, hope is not lost. If you'd like to take a look at the show notes for this episode, go to parentingadhdandautism.com/332 for episode 322. I'm sending so much love, positive energy, hugs your way. You've got this. Your kid has this. Just read the signals and meet them where they are. I'll see you on the next episode. Take good care.